you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to week number 8's Monday Night Football overtime. AFC East family business. You know how the family do it. If those two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. And generally speaking, I stay out of family business because, again, it's not my business, so I keep my nose out of business that doesn't pertain to me. But this was a little bit different because I needed a survivor pick to get me through to week number 9, and I hadn't used my Patriots pick yet, and so thought this was the perfect time to use it against the Derek Anderson-led Buffalo Bills. I went against 2 of my top 3 principles in a survivor pool tonight. A, stay out of family business that doesn't pertain to you. I'm not a fan of any team in the AFC East. My business resides in the NFC East. Therefore, this is not my business. Therefore, hence, I need to stay out. Number 2, don't pick teams on the road. It's not a smart road. It's not a smart way to go about business if you're trying to survive. So I did not 1, but 2 in a double whammy, if you will. And it almost came back to bite me in the ass. However, if anybody out there for 1 second thought that the Buffalo Bills were going to win this game, you, my friends, are A, delusional, B, a Bills fan, or C, you just don't watch enough football. But I will say this, and this goes back to the conversations that we had before the season started when we talked about the Bills and how we thought they were going to be a bad team this year, and how I was talking to a couple of Bills fans and they said, don't you like Sean McDermott? And I talked about the Facebook show that they had and how I really like McDermott, and it pains me to give him a 3-13 or a 2-14 or a 4-12 record. And one of the Bills fans said, but don't you think that Sean McDermott by himself is good for 2 or 3 wins? And I said, man, I really like Sean McDermott, and the guy can coach up defense. And you saw it tonight. This team had no business being in this ball game the way that they were. And give some credit to the fans at New Era Stadium. They showed up. They were loud. They impacted this game, okay? I thought that the Patriots would come in. The fans would be ginned and juiced up. They'd be ready to go at kickoff. And by the midpoint of the second quarter, half of them would be heading for the exits because this score would be something along the lines of 27-6. But they were ready at kickoff, and they kept the energy up all game long. And I think the Bills fed off of that energy, especially defensively, and it kept them in this game for about 3.5 quarters. And I got to give the Bills some credit. And I've been wrong all primetime games long, really, all season long during these primetime games. I thought that the 49ers-Packers game was going to be trash. I thought the Buccaneers-Steelers game was going to be trash. I thought this game was going to be trash. And all the games that I actually thought were going to be good, I was wrong about. So, this game I thought had no chance. And my girl was watching the game with me, and she was like, you said that this is going to be a blowout. And I said, yeah, but. And she's like, no buts. You're wrong again. And she was right. I was wrong again. I thought this was going to be a blowout, and I think that Thursday is going to be a trash game between the 49ers and the Oakland Raiders, and that probably will end up being a 33-30 shootout and have us on the edge of our seats if things continue the way that they went this season on primetime television. But nonetheless, I digress. This Bills team came to play, and if they would have hit on one of those plays early in the game, that they had a shot with the double reverse, flea flicker back to the quarterback, and Charles Clay down the sidelines. That's one of those plays you just got to hit. You know, you script those first 15 plays. You try to catch the Patriots off guard. And we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary. And I talked about this on my podcast. And if you haven't checked it out, shameless plug time. Check out the Louie T Network podcast. It's available on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Music Play, and, of course, the website, louietnetwork.net. But back to your regularly scheduled programming. If you checked out the podcast, I talked about the Bills and this football team And I talked about how there's so many different things you can do early in a football game to try to take advantage of some situations. And they had an opportunity early in the ball game. And I talked about the 10-year anniversary of the Wildcat on one of my podcasts. And the Bills came out. And remember, the Patriots were the team that the Wildcat was unveiled on by the Miami Dolphins. And it was 10 years ago last month that they did it. Or about 3 weeks or so ago, give or take a week or so. But in any event, they had some issues with it early in this game. And I thought that they did some good things early, came out, and they had some opportunities to strike. They didn't take full advantage, and they left it up to the defense. They gave it a run. And give the defense some credit, man. This Brady-led offense had been high-flying over the last month. As soon as they got Gordon implemented and up to speed, as soon as they got Edelman back and Gronk into the mix, and I think they were really missing Sony Michel. This was the first game without Sony Michel in the lineup, and I think it really hurt them. And this is something that they'll have to adjust to. Don't know how long he's going to be out for. I'm glad that the injury wasn't serious, but PlayStation makes a huge difference. They didn't have him tonight, and so they tried to be in typical Patriots fashion. They like I said, they're a shape-shifting team. They're very malleable. They conform to whatever needs to be done. And tonight, they dressed two backs. So what do? They stick Cordero Patterson back there in the backfield, and they do some things with him. But give the Bills defense some credit. And I was a little disappointed that my man, Tremaine Edmonds, went down because that was my spotlight guy. I was watching him all first half, and I knew he was concussed. The minute he stuck his head down and tried to take on James Devlin, and after that play, if you noticed, he sat up on his butt, and he sat there, and he sat there, and he sat there, and guys were trying to help him up, and he just sat there, and I said, he's got a concussion. But yet, he stayed in the game. Nobody said a word. And then when halftime came, they evaluated him for the concussion protocol, and he did not come back. I knew at that very moment he had a concussion, and that sucks because I was watching him, and he was already impressing me. And, you know, that was my guy coming out of Virginia Tech and the guy that I wanted my Redskins to draft in the first round. But that's nor here nor there. Give that defense credit. They stepped up tonight, and they kept this Buffalo Bills football team in this game against all odds. And I said, how fitting would it be that the one time the Bills shouldn't have any chance in hell of beating the Patriots with Derek Anderson at quarterback, that would be the night that they would finally win. Wouldn't that be some shit? That's what I thought to myself, but that was a fleeting thought. It lasted all of a millisecond, and then I realized and I snapped out. What the hell are you talking about? It's the B&B winning factory. No way they lose to Derek Anderson and the Buffalo Bills on a Monday night. It's not happening. But the Bills gave it a run nonetheless, and I appreciate them for that because I had dreams of getting a nice power nap during this game, and they took a nice number 2 all over that dream, and I'm thankful for that. It's okay. I can sleep later. I appreciate you making this a competitive football game for 3.5 quarters. And I got to give the Bills offense some credit for not self-destructing until the second half. You could have turned it over. You could have made mistakes earlier in this game that could have made all of your defensive efforts a moot point. But you took care of the football. You picked up a couple of first downs, flipped the field position a couple of times, punted, pinned them deep. And again, these are all things that you have to do when you're limited on one side of the football to give you a chance. Trust me, I know all about it. My Redskins are limited offensively right now, and so we got to play defense. We can't turn it over, and we got to play hellified special teams, and that's what the Bills were doing for 3.5 quarters. Would have loved to have seen them be able to run it a little bit more effectively, but again, when your quarterback's name is Derek Anderson, no one is really going to respect your ability to push the football down the field. Add to the fact that your receivers are named Ray McCloud and Zay Jones and fill in the blank, Kelvin Benjamin and the likes. No one respects your ability to get vertical and stretch the field. So everything is going to be condensed and everybody is going to be up around the line of scrimmage. 8-man boxes, not going to be tough or not going to be easy to run the football against. So again, I credit them for not turning it over or making a mistake until later on in the game into the second half when Kyle Van Noy made a hell of a play, beating Deion Dawkins, the left tackle, off the snap, getting around the edge and hitting Anderson. And even then, the defense still stood up and forced a field goal attempt. So this Bills defense, they stood up on their head most of the game. But again, they had to get some kind of help from the offense, and it just wasn't going to happen on this night, not with Derek Anderson at quarterback. It could have been worse. It could have been Nathan Peterman, and it could have been 37-6 shellacking, and just like I thought it would be, but it wasn't. So good for the Bills. You know, way to hang in there. There are no moral victories. We talk about this all the time. You still lost a game, and that pick six made this game look a lot worse than what it really was. But nonetheless, you hang tough. You're now 2-6, and hopefully Josh Allen is back sooner than later, because if you're a Bills fan, this is tough to stomach. Watching your defense go out and give you a chance against a highly explosive and corrosive offense, and your offense, on the other hand, not being able to do anything to help out the defense whatsoever in this football game. If you're the Patriots, sometimes you just got to win games like this. It's not always going to be pretty and glitz and glam. It's not always going to be aesthetically pleasing. Sometimes you just got to find a way to win, especially when you're on the road in division games. That's why it's family business. They know you just like you know them, and so they're going to come up, play tough. They're going to be physical. They're going to give you a run for your money because they're a family member and they know you. So you're not always going to blow out teams that are inferior to you in the division, because it's a division game. That's why it's family business. So you knew that they were going to fight, and just how long were they going to be able to keep up this fight was the question. I was surprised that they kept it up as long as they did. I was giving them no more than 2 quarters. We actually got 3.5 quarters. So good for the Bills, but the Patriots prevail 25-6. They extend their record out to 6-2 on the season, and they've got a big one at home on Sunday Night Football next week versus the Green Bay Packers. That should be a lot of fun. I expect them to win that game as well, but we will see what happens. But it was a rough night offensively for the Patriots. They could never really get into an offensive rhythm. The run game, which we shit on with the Patriots all the time, because we tell ourselves they don't need the run game. Brady can throw it 50 times if he needs to, but that's not ideal. That's not what you want to do. And of late, that's not what they've been doing, okay? With Sony Michel, that's why they drafted him in the first round. It's because they planned on using him. You saw where they were trending towards. They were trending towards a balanced attack that could hit you for $150 on the ground, and Tom still get you for 275, 300, 350 if need be through the air, and they could score 31 to 38 points if they needed to do so. But without Sony Michel back there, their running game suffered, and because their running game was pretty much non-existent on the night, it turned into a situation where Brady had to do it with his right arm. The Bills were aware of this, and they did a really good job of keeping the Patriots in 3rd and long situations and then coming with pressure. And Brady, just like any other quarterback in this league, and I talk about this all the time. I talk about it with Blake Bortles, and I know a lot of you don't want to hear about Blake Bortles because you think he's trash. And I can't argue that he's not trash sometimes. But if you don't have, and the same thing applies for Eli Manning, even though Eli Manning is done. Stick a fork in him, he's done. He's a deer in headlights. But if you do not protect quarterbacks, they will do stupid things with the football. See Tom Brady in the 3rd quarter with pressure in his face and Lorenzo Alexander bearing down on him. He throws the football into the flats, and Matt Milano had a chance at a pick. All right? Quarterbacks do dumb things when pressure is applied, and they're just looking to get rid of the football. Brady is not immune to doing something stupid. We saw Kirk Cousins do something stupid with the football last night and throw a pick six. It happens when pressure is applied. So there's an art to not turning the football over, which is why guys like Alex Smith win football games. It's usually not pretty, and it doesn't put butts in seats, and fans aren't ecstatic to watch it, but it gets results. You take care of the football just like the Bills did for the vast majority of the night, you'll have a chance to win. Now, you may not win, but you'll have a chance, and generally, as a Bills fan going into the game tonight, they didn't think they had any chance of winning. And when you look up and the score is 9-6 or 9-3 at halftime, and you look up and at one point the score is 9-6, you're like, oh shit, we're in this game and we got a shot. Probably still didn't think you were going to win, but at least you had a shot, and that was because you didn't turn it over until the fumble, and you were giving yourself a chance by playing special teams defense and not turning it over on offense. And sometimes that's all you need to do to give yourself the best opportunity to get a dub. But as I mentioned before, the Patriots are in a team that is in the market for a difference maker at receiver. And I asked the question to my girlfriend, like, why do you think the Patriots would be in the market for a receiver? And she said, well, isn't Josh Gordon a difference maker at receiver? I said, yep, Flash. Gordon is a difference maker unless he's acting up. And then we get the report that he was going to have some kind of disciplinary action taken because he was late for a meeting. So they probably feel like, yeah, he's all right, but he's not real. We need a real guy, and it wouldn't shock me if Demaryius Thomas tomorrow becomes a New England Patriot. It wouldn't shock me that if tomorrow Deshaun Jackson is a New England Patriot. It wouldn't shock me if tomorrow Golden Tate is a New England Patriot. It would not shock me if the Patriots made a move because, again, one thing you can say about the Patriots, they're never scared to make a move to try to win a Super Bowl. They could give two shits about a first-round pick or a second-round pick. All they care about are Super Bowl championships in the here and now because they know once Brady hangs it up, they're going to stink for the next 2 decades. So they better get them while they're here to be got. And that's why they're willing to mortgage the future for the present. And so it wouldn't shock me that if at 2:30 tomorrow I learn that the New England Patriots have just acquired Demaryius Thomas for a 2019 first-round pick or a 2019 second and a player to be named later that they toss in the deal to sweeten the pot. All I know is it would not shock me if tomorrow, and I think this game kind of lends itself to the Patriots going out and getting another difference maker offensively. It would not shock me in the least if the Patriots made a move to strengthen their offense and give Brady yet another target to really bolster this offense to keep up with the likes of the Chiefs and the Steelers in the AFC and keep up with the likes of the Rams and the Saints in the NFC. And hell, even in the Eagles, if they are able to get their shit together. They know that they have to score points in order to win. That Super Bowl was an eye-opening experience for them because it was unlike any other Super Bowl we've ever seen. There was no defense, mega offense, and 40-some-odd points was what it was going to take to win that game. And they understand that that may be the future of the NFL, and that may be what it takes to just get out of the AFC this year, messing around with the Chiefs, messing around with the Steelers, messing around with some of these teams. You may have to score 40 just to get out to the Super Bowl, and you may have to score 40 just to win the Super Bowl, messing around with the Rams, messing around with the Saints, and some of these teams that can really light up the scoreboard. So would not shock me in the least if the Patriots made a power move to get a guy that can change their offense dynamically and help them moving forward in this season. But I've already said enough. Patriots win this game off the strength of their defense, and we haven't talked enough about their defense and the job that they did. Again, it's the Bills' offense. Take it with a grain of salt, but I thought they were exceptional. Trey Flowers was all over the backfield. You saw guys like Kyle Van Noy stepping up and making plays. Elandon Roberts should have had a pick. He was around the football tonight. They did some good things in the secondary. I thought they did a lot of good things without fouling because one of the things the Bills I thought we're going to do more of is just take shots down the field and see if we can't get some pass interference penalties. And I thought the Patriots cornerbacks and DBs did a great job of defending without fouling. And so don't give up any freebies. Don't give up any 37-yard pass interference penalties and move the football out past midfield. You know, make them earn everything that they get in this game. And I thought they did a really good job of doing exactly that. So they're fundamentally sound on that side of the football, are the New England Patriots. It's a Belichick coach defense, so you know they're going to be very sound in what they do defensively from a schematics standpoint, and they're not going to beat themselves. They didn't do that tonight, and when the Bills finally made mistakes, i.e. Deion Dawkins not getting a punch on Kyle Van Noy, i.e. Derek Anderson staring down the seam ball and taking McCourty straight to the football. When those things happen, they take full advantage, and they do not miss those opportunities. The only opportunity they missed defensively tonight was a Landon Roberts jumping around. And if he didn't pick that off, or if he didn't jump it, I really think the corner on the outside was going to pick that off. And he would have been off to the races and potentially gone. So one of those guys should have picked that pass off. Landon Roberts had the opportunity, and he didn't take advantage of it. But the Patriots were outstanding defensively themselves tonight, and that's part of the reason that they were able to win this football game 25-6. Let's go to the comment section, shall we? And we start with Ree. He says, did anyone really think that the Bills had a chance? I don't think anybody really did. I mean, it was a great performance by the Bills in effort, just to be in the football game, but never did I think. And I don't want to speak for anybody else out there, but I didn't think that they had a shot in this game, not even when it was a 3-point deficit at 9-6. Never thought for 1 second that they're going to win this game. I got Munson says, not a whole lot here tonight, Louie. Buffalo came to play, 0 explosiveness in that offense. Wonder if we saw the last of Shady in Buffalo tonight. Very excited to see any trades. Mañana. Great point. We may have seen the last of Shady McCoy. I think if any back gets traded, any high-profile back gets traded tomorrow, it'd be Shady McCoy, and it'd be to Philadelphia. I think that would be his landing destination. Any big moves made, I think it'll be Djax potentially back to Philadelphia. It'll be Shady potentially back to Philadelphia. I think the Philadelphia Eagles, much like the Patriots, are in the market to make a big move because both of those teams understand that they need to do something if they want to get back to where they were a season ago. So it would not shock me in the least to see both Super Bowl participants from last year make some power moves to try to improve their rosters and get back to the Super Bowl once again. I got Munson. Says, side note, just wanted to say thank you for all that you do. Keep it up, brother. Truly the best, bar none, on any platform. Hashtag first place skins. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that very much. So, Reed also says, the B&B winning factory strikes again, or once more. And he is absolutely right. And we knew that going into the game, that they were going to notch another W under their belt. Reed also says, I still think Sean McDermott has a great future as a head coach. I think this strengthens his case to be a really good head coach. Seeing the lack of materials that he has to work with, and yet he had this team competitive. And really the fact, I'm treating Sean McDermott this year like I treated Todd Bowles last season. Like, there's nothing there. And if you come out of this season with 5 or 6 wins, that's a hell of a job that requires some kind of acknowledgement, whether it's an extension like Bowles and GM Mike McCagnon got last year, or it's just one first place vote for Coach of the Year. No one should think that he's going to win it, but I just need someone to acknowledge the fact that what he's doing in Buffalo with that cupboard, as bare as it is offensively, and a defense that should be demoralized week after week because of the lack of consistency, potency, explosiveness, or anything of the sort offensively, and yet they're still in it competitively, defensively every week almost. There's something to be said about that, and it starts with the coach. It really does. Captain Spartan 04 says, so glad my Steelers are tanking. There's no way we're beating the Patriots this year. I don't know how you keep using the T word and in the same sentence with your Steelers. You're in first place in your division. Why do you keep saying that? I don't understand where you're getting at here. JP says, I tried to watch this game, but it was such a snoozer early, so I switched back and forth between this game and Lakers versus Timberwolves on NBA TV. I did the same thing. It wasn't a snoozer to me, though. I don't have a problem watching defensive struggles. I actually appreciate it. In a day and age where football resembles a pinball machine game and it's on just tilt, there's nothing wrong with watching two teams play defense. I have no problem. Now, one team is playing defense against an offense that was inept, but I still don't have a problem watching two teams play defense. I have no problems with that whatsoever. DC Big Oso says, I couldn't even watch this game. I messed around and watched Raw. Wow. Now, that is something I cannot get into, but I did watch a little bit of T-Wolves Lakers. Watched a good majority of that game, actually. Reese says, Lou, I'm elated with the news today. What a better way to keep our dwindling season alive than some magic. Fitz magic. Say it out loud. Say it proud. Fitz magic. Yikes. I told you were going to lose to Cincinnati. Now, I thought you were going to get blown out, and for a lot of that game, it looked like that was going to be the case. You were down 21-0. You were down 27-6. But as fate would have it, Fitzmagic, do you believe in magic, came in the game and started doing that thing again. And I told you, I love my backups that come in and do something. Either you're going to come in and you're going to F us, or you're going to come in and you're going to lead us to a victory, or you're going to come in and you're going to bring us back and give us a shot. But do something. Don't come in and just kind of be meddling and in the middle of the road. Do something. And Fitzmagic, or Ryan Fitzpatrick, is one of those polarizing backups in this league. And so it should be fun the rest of the way if he's able to stay healthy and stay the guy in Tampa. They're going to be flip-flopping back and forth, I think, between quarterbacks, because he's going to have himself a 3-4 interception game, as we know he's prone to do. And then they'll be like, well, let's put Jameis in. And so this is going to be fun watching them flip-flop back and forth. But nonetheless, both of those guys are dead men walking at the end of the season anyway. They're trying to save their jobs, and it's not going to work. I think both Dirk Cutter and Jason Light are going to be canned at season's end. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how many wins they're able to squeeze out of that Buccaneers rag this season and see if it's enough for them to save their jobs once again. Cloud says, caught the end of the third and fourth quarter. This game wasn't that great in my opinion. No, it wasn't a great game. It was just better than we anticipated. That's all. There's nothing great about this game, but it was better than I anticipated. I can't speak for you guys, so let me stop and rephrase that from we to me. It was better than I anticipated. I didn't think that this game is going to be competitive at all. As a matter of fact, I think last night some Bills fan, or it might have been last week, a Bills fan asked me, so what do you think about my Bills against the Patriots next week? And I said, they're going to send you guys home midway through the second quarter. It's going to be over. It's going to be painless and quick. They're going to put 2 in your dome, and they're going to end it nice and quick. You won't even feel a thing. They're not going to torture you. They're not going to drill a hole in your knee. They're not going to cut off one of your fingers. They're not going to electrocute your balls. They're not going to waterboard you. They're just going to put 2 in your dome and end you nice and quick. Well, no, they actually did waterboard the Bills tonight. They did cut off one of their fingers. They did take a drill to their kneecap. Yeah, they did some pretty graphic things. It was slow. It was methodical. At the end of the game, though, it still achieved the same thing. They were still dead at the end. But nonetheless, John Perez says, what's the deal with the Bills fans throwing sex toys on the field every time the Patriots come to town? I don't know. You'd have to ask a Bills fan about that. I do not go into that. Again, this is why it's family business, and I stay out of family business that is not my own. Ricky L says, if the Bills would have won, we would have all said that's that Dolphin shit. You just wanted to say that. That has nothing to do with this game whatsoever. Reese says, Jameis is reportedly heartbroken by the move. Does this man expect sympathy? He has been playing like Dookie. He's heartbroken because he cares, but you can't go out and throw 4 interceptions and expect them not to do something. For every reaction, there's an opposite. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. You throw 4 picks, you should expect a quick and swift hook. And that's what he got. And if he's heartbroken, then he'll have to suck it up and realize that you can't throw interceptions out like Halloween candy and expect to still be the team starter. It just doesn't work that way. You didn't build up enough equity to be able to throw 4 picks in a game and survive. You were already on a short leash. You came out, you stunk it up, and now this is what happens when you do that. And so if I'm the Bucs, I don't know what Jameis is in the grand scheme of their future plans, but if you can get something for him, why not get something for him? We'll see what happens. Cloud says, we need McCoy out of there. Hashtag free McCoy Howie. Like I said, it would not shock me if the Eagles went after McCoy or Jackson and brought one of those guys home. It seems like a logical destination for both of those guys. I expect one of those guys to land in Philadelphia. If not, somebody else will, but the Eagles aren't going to stand pat. They're going to do something, and I think they would prefer to do something at running back more so than receiver. John Perez says, Booger McFarland roasted Kelvin Benjamin by saying he's a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end. The phrase was funny, but Kelvin's my guy. Wish Redskins got him, though. I'm good on Kelvin Benjamin. He is not the type of player that warrants the type of respect he's garnered around the league. When your first season is your best season and you haven't really approached that landmark since then, you've got a problem. And he is a big guy, and he doesn't move well, and he doesn't use his size the way he did when he was at Florida State. I was so wrong about him and so wrong about the Panthers wide receiver out of Michigan. I can't think of his name at this very second. Devin Funchess. I was wrong about those two because I thought that the roles would be reversed. I thought Funchess should have been a tight end. I didn't think he was going to make a great receiver. He's been a really quality receiver for Cam Newton since getting the #1 role in Carolina. His hands are A1. He makes a lot of plays on the football. Really been impressed with Funchess, and he's lost the weight and kept it off. And so I've been thoroughly impressed with Devin Funchess. Flip side, I thought Kelvin Benjamin was going to be the next big thing at the receiver position coming out of Florida State. They won the national championship. He caught the touchdown pass to win them the game. I thought this guy was going to be a stud. He comes in his first year, has 1,000 yards receiving, looks like he's going to be a beast, and he just hasn't been what I thought he was going to be. And there was weight issues in Carolina. There are weight issues right now in Buffalo. He doesn't move well. He can't separate. And even with his body and frame being as big as it is, he doesn't use his body for separation well either. So there's not a lot to like with Kelvin Benjamin. I'm not a huge fan of his at all. J. Cam Man says, it was one score game most of the game. Defense did well. He said defense did well. Offense can't do anything, though. Smoot should have caught that. Yeah. And you know what? I thought it was a big play in the game was when your backup inside linebacker came into the game and he missed that tackle on a 3rd and 8. And I think the score at the time was still 9-6. It might have been 12-6 at that moment. I'm not sure which it was, but it was one of the two. Still, it was still a one-score game either way. And he misses a tackle. I think his name is Copeland. No, it's not Copeland. Number 51. Stanford is his name. I think it's Julian Stanford. And he missed that tackle, and on a 3rd and 8, on an underneath throw, on essentially a check down to the running back, James White, makes him miss, picks up about 10 on 3rd and 8, kept that drive alive, and they ultimately went down the field and scored. And that was a huge play in the game. And I thought if you could have gotten that stop, you had a lot of momentum. It was loud. Maybe the game's outcome could have been different. Probably not, but you never know. J. Cam says, did LaShawn McCoy start the game technically? Yeah. Oh, you're talking about a quarterback because he was in the Wildcat. I don't know how that works. I would assume that they still credit Derek Anderson with the start, but you're right. Technically speaking, he took the first snap of the game for the Bills. So I don't know how that actually works. Ricky L says, I'll lose it if D-Jack goes to New England. If he went to New England, they'd tear shit up because Brady would definitely let it loose and let it rip down the field. And we know D-Jack's. You saw it. I don't know if you watched the game against Cincinnati. Man had a 60-yard touchdown where he was about 4 yards behind the defense. He can still pick him up and put him down, man. The dude is still stupid fast. So if he went to New England, that would be like stealing, essentially. And to make matters worse, you don't have to give Tampa Bay a first-round pick for Deshaun Jackson either. You know, you could probably get away with the second. I think you might even be able to get him for a third, honestly speaking. But if I'm Tampa Bay and I'm really considering getting rid of Deshaun Jackson, which they don't want to do because they want to win, but if you're really considering cutting ties with him, I want a second-round pick. You know, well, we'll see what happens, though. Reese says, Demaryius Thomas is the quintessential New England Patriot. Quiet producer, fits like a glove. I agree wholeheartedly. The only thing that I think would really rub the Patriots wrong is that he does drop the football, you know, and it has no problem on a 3rd and 7 on a comeback, dropping the football and forcing the Patriots to have to punt. And there's only so much of that they will want to have to tolerate. But when the guy's dialed in, he's one of the better big receivers in this league. But like you said, quiet, keeps to himself, goes out, produces. He'd be the quintessential New England Patriot. You're spot on there. J. Cam Man says, I predicted the Bills would only score 9 points tonight. They couldn't even get that. This offense has been horrible under McDermott, not saying that's why, that's what's happening. Look, he's a defensive coordinator. And when you got a defensive-minded head coach, generally the offense struggles unless you get a guy that is very offensively gifted to run your offense. when you get these run-of-the-mill coordinators like Brian Daboll out there, you're not going to get but so much out of your offense. It's just the way it works. And so you're not going to get much out of this offense because I told you, you don't have any talent on offense. You don't have any talent. You got Shady McCoy and Charles Clay, and that's it. And Charles Clay, whether he's injured or just not producing because of the quarterback position or whatever may have you, he's not even producing at the level that I know Charles Clay is capable of producing at. So you don't have anything out there. I don't know what you're expecting of this offense. There's not enough talent. Plain and simple. Cloud says, that's why I hate the damn Patriots. Always trying to, let's see. He says, always trying to get better. Got the greatest QB and coach tandem, and they still not finished. And he in all caps, he says, we've had enough of your dynasty, LOL. Well, they're not done creating a dynasty. So you're going to have to put up with that. J. Camman says, for once, I actually thought the game was mostly evenly called. Yeah, I did not think that it was biased one way or the other. And the only call that I thought could have went either way was the Gronk call. And I actually thought that he gained possession of the football with that first foot down, which allowed that second foot to count. If you say that he didn't have possession during that first foot being down, then that second foot came down. That third foot came down out of bounds. I think he had a toe out. So I think they just stood with the call on the field because they felt like he had possession with that first foot down. But anyway, Cloud says, I hope the Eagles bring D-Jax and Bruce in tomorrow. We'll see what happens. I think they're going to make a move. I really, really do. Excuse me. Ricky L says, if the Bills need a backup quarterback, Uncle Rico can throw it over them mountains. Hey, man. Let Kerr have it. Let Kerr have it. JP says, we've got the Falcons next week, Lou. No Devontae Freeman to worry about. We still got to stop Ridley, Tevin Coleman, of course, and Julio. We'll talk about that tomorrow and among other things. FBG Tony says, the Pats played mediocre, but won running away. Though the Bills kept it close for a while, give them credit. Like I said, sometimes family business requires you to win ugly. You know, not always going to blow out a family member because they know you. Just like you know them, they know you. And sometimes it's just tough to go on the road and win in the division. Patriots know how to do that, though. They do it every year. That's why Tom Brady is now 29-3. Think about that for a second. Tom Brady is 29-3 versus the Buffalo Bills, man. Damn! That is ridiculous. J. Camman says, I don't think we trade Shady. I don't want to either. The whole trading good players away thing is coming back to haunt us. If what they're saying is true and you look at the roster and you can only help but think that it's true, they're rebuilding in Buffalo. I know you want to win. I know you want to create a culture where winning is premium and takes precedence over everything else. But if that was the case, you should have never got rid of Tyrod Taylor. You could have still drafted. You still could have drafted Josh Allen, and you still could have kept Tyrod Taylor all at the same time. And you still could have been winning football games ugly. And this is what you complained about. This is what you asked for. You wanted to get rid of Tyrod Taylor. You wanted to move on from him. Well, this is what you asked for then, because I'm telling you right now, it wouldn't have been pretty, but you would probably be 4-3 or 4-4 right now if Tyrod Taylor were your quarterback. You would have won some games. You had no business winning. You'd have won a game 19-13. You would have won a game 20-16 already, and you'd have been right in the thick of things in the AFC playoff picture, and you'd been right in the thick of things in the AFC East right now, and you might have even won the game tonight with the way your defense played. But instead, you had Derek Anderson at quarterback because Nathan Peterman stinks and Josh Allen is hurt. So if you're not going to keep guys like Tyrod Taylor around, why are you keeping a guy like Shady hostage? Get something for him, move on, and then rebuild. If you're going to rebuild, then rebuild. Do it all the way. FBG Tony says, the Pats will acquire either DT88 or D-Jax tomorrow morning. I would love Shady McCoy to get moved, but hopefully not to Philadelphia, bro. I don't want the Philadelphia Eagles getting anybody. I don't want any smoke from the Eagles. They're already good enough as it is. I don't want them acquiring any more talent. So I'm with you on that. I don't want to see Shady McCoy back in Philly at all. I used to have nightmares of him. And before him, it was Byron Westbrook I'm so happy that I don't have to worry about a Brian Westbrook or a Shady McCoy anymore in Philadelphia. I'm excited and looking forward to no Jay Ajayi and just having to stop a slew of no-name backs in their backfield. I'd love to get a shot at Wendell Smallwood, okay? I'd love to get my shot at Correll Buckhalter in their backfield. No, I'm playing. I'd love to get my shot at all the guys that they tried out there. The Notre Dame product, which is my guy because he went to Notre Dame, and Josh Adams. And they also got the running back from, what is it, Nebraska? Wisconsin? One of them red schools. The one that caught all the passes in the Super Bowl. Yeah, him too. So I want to see those guys. I don't want to see any upgrades. I don't want to see any upgrades. JP says, off subject, the college football playoff rankings will be out tomorrow at 7. I hope my LSU Tigers get in, but do you think there will be any surprises? No, I don't. We pretty much know how this situation is going to unfold. I think that, look, LSU will get in if they beat Alabama. Simple as that. They lose to Alabama, they're done. That's just the way it's going to go. Captain Spartan 04 says, remember that guy Shaq Lawson? Yeah, me either. I didn't like Shaq Lawson. Remember, I didn't like him coming out of college at Clemson. I told you he wasn't explosive. He wasn't dynamic. He was big. To me, he looked like a 3-4 defensive end, a 5-tech. Like, that's what he looked like to me. He didn't look like a 4-3 edge rusher. So, J. Camman says, so McDermott decided to do his weekly interview at 5 p.m. in the parking lot before the game. He had the option to move it to Tuesday. I guess he just wanted to get it out of the way. I guess. FBG Tony says, what's up with the QB situation in Tampa Bay? Will they move on from Jameis? If so, where are some destinations for this troubled, underachieving QB? It's a great question. And in mid-season, I don't think there's anywhere that he could land that would make sense. You know, in the offseason, there's going to be plenty of destinations, as there always are, for starting quarterbacks in this league. But as of right now, the only place that you could even entertain him going and possibly making a difference in this season would be Jacksonville. But I think Jacksonville feels good about Blake Bortles. I still feel good about Blake Bortles. I know I'm probably alone in this, but I feel like if they could just get a simple... Blake Bortles was the leading rusher for the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. When Blake Bortles is leading your team in passing and rushing, you're going to lose. I've already stated this numerous times. They need a run game. They need balance. And when they get back to that... Blake wasn't bad on Sunday. But that's for another... I already did lockdown coverage. I'm putting the finishing touches on it. That should be up maybe an hour and a half after this video has met its conclusion. So I talked about that on that video. Anyway, JP says, were you surprised that Khalil Mack missed the Jets game yesterday? It was his first missed game of his career. Dude is a tough SOB, so I thought he would play through the ankle injury. No, I'm not surprised. The Bears said that they're going to hold him out of this game and the game against the Bills next week because they've got 3 straight divisional games coming up, or 3 out of 4 weeks, something along those lines. And they're right in the midst of a playoff push and a divisional push as well. So they feel like the biggest challenges to their season are coming right around the corner. They want Khalil Mack as close to 100% as they can get him. The game against the Jets and the Bills aren't irrelevant, but they're AFC matchups that they feel like they should be able to handle. Without Mack, they took care of one team in the AFC East yesterday in the Jets. They think they can do the same next week versus the Bills, and I don't see why they wouldn't be able to without the services of Khalil Mack. And therefore, he'll be that much more healthier for Green Bay, for Detroit, and for Minnesota when those games show up on the schedule. That's the thought process that was told to me by the Bears organization. J. Camman 99 says, I wish they would have done the Wildcat more. I know Belichick adjusted quickly. All that fancy stuff. I was so happy with the beginning of the game. Then they stopped. I thought they were going to continue to do it too because that's something that the Patriots have struggled with in the past. And it's also something that gets you an extra blocker in the run game, one more person you have to account for in the run game. I thought it could have more success when they were going north and south. It was when they tried to go out east and west with it that they had issues and guys knifing into the backfield and making plays. But I guess they figured it's run its course. They've already caught up to it. We don't need to keep going to the well, and they stopped doing it. I thought they should have continued to do it because that was the only way you're going to have success was to mix things up, and I didn't think they did it enough in this game. Reese says, Peyton Barber continues to rise, Lou. The man plays his ass off every time he touches the ball. I haven't seen it. I know you like this guy a lot. I just haven't seen it. He looks like an ordinary, average NFL back. You know what he looks like to me? He looks like John Legend. Ordinary people. He's just ordinary people. Looks like an ordinary back. Take it slow. Whoa, whoa. He looks like an ordinary back, man. But that's your guy. I'm not here to demean your guy. Likely Phenomenon says, what's good, Lou? Thoughts on Hugh Jackson being fired? I'm going to talk about that on my podcast on Wednesday. So, not going to really discuss it too much here. I'll talk about that and then something. And I talked about it on my podcast last week, really, if you really want to know how I feel. I talked about it last week, but I'll talk about it in more depth. And I talked about it a little bit on lockdown coverage as well. So, see what we got. JP says, Browns fired Hugh Jackson, Todd Haley today. I heard it had something to do with power struggle on offense, and Greg Williams also named interim head coach. Yep. Those things have been reported as facts, so I would assume that those are truths. At least that's how it was told to everyone. J. Camman says, would you trade Alex Smith for Josh Allen? I don't. He said, I know you don't like Alex Smith that much, but you seem to have some faith in Josh Allen. Not a serious question, just a fun hypothetical. Would I trade him? No, because I'm in win now mode. And Josh Allen not going to win me any games right now. If my skin stunk and we were rebuilding, then maybe. But Jay Gruden is in win now mode. He can't afford to have a rookie quarterback and trying to win games. It's counterproductive and counterintuitive to what's going on in DC. We're trying to create, which is why I hate what the Bills did last year. I hate what you guys did in this offseason, because what the Redskins are in the process of doing is what I thought you guys were doing, which is changing the culture in Buffalo, creating a winning environment, which is what Tyrod Taylor was helping you do, which is why I wasn't a fan of you getting rid of Tyrod Taylor at this moment. Maybe you should have held on to Tyrod Taylor, similar to what the Chiefs did with Alex Smith. Hold on to him for a year, have him be a bridge, stopgap quarterback, show Josh Allen the ropes, show Josh Allen what it means to be a pro in this league, show him what it means to show up early at the facility, show him what it means to get in your workouts and get in the gym, and show him what it means to make adjustments in game. All of these things are what Patrick Mahomes learned from Alex Smith, or at least that's what he said. He learned from Alex Smith in sitting entire 2017 season, and look at what he's done. That's what you should have done, all the while still winning, which is what the Chiefs did last year. All the while still winning in Buffalo and creating an environment where you expect to win. You've regressed so much by making that move away from Tyrod Taylor this year that even when Josh Allen figures it out, this may be a losing culture in Buffalo that may never get back to where you could have been if you continued to build on what you had done a season ago. You may not make the playoffs for another decade or two. And I thought that you set your franchise back by moving on from a guy that wasn't flashy, much like Alex Smith, not going to win you over in the court of public opinion, not going to get you on a bunch of primetime games, not going to light up the scoreboard. But when you look up at that same scoreboard, it's going to say Bills 19, the other team 17. It's going to say Bills 23, other team 20. And you're going to win more than you lose. And when it's all said and done and you stack up those wins like bricks, hopefully you got enough to get into the tournament. And last year you did do enough to get into the tournament. And so, no, I wouldn't trade for Josh Allen. Alex Smith, with all of his deficiencies, flaws and all, the man has my Redskins at 5-2. And for the life of me, I can't understand why Redskins fans aren't more pumped and ecstatic about being 5-2. When's the last time we were 5-2? Yet they're bitching about not scoring points. I don't get it. You can never please fans. They're acting as if we're the New England Patriots and we make the playoffs every year. Every year! Like we make the playoffs every year and we can afford to be picky and choosy. Beggars can't be choosers. Take your goddamn wins any way you can get them. But yet, they want to cry, bitch, moan, and complain about being 5-2 and not scoring points. I can't tell you how ecstatic I am to be 5-2 right now. That we beat the Cowboys, that we beat the Giants in New York, that we're 2-0 in the division, that we've got a shot to win the division. I can't tell you how happy I am, despite the offense being trash, and at times it's like pulling teeth. I could care less. We're winning. And at some point, I'm aware that it's going to catch up to us. And I know we can't beat the better teams in the league that can score points. I'm aware of this. But don't you think for 1 second, don't think for 1 second, I'm naive enough to think that we're going to be able to beat the better teams, the Saints, the Rams, and teams like that that can score in this league. I'm not naive. I understand what this is. But I also understand that we're winning. And winning begets winning. And winning begets confidence, which begets winning. And if you can find a way to get into that pocket, into that vicious circle of winning and confidence, and winning begetting more confidence, which gives you more confidence to then win. If you can get into that circle, you got a shot to improve in areas that you're weak, because you'll still be winning and you'll be more engaged and more willing to look at some of the deficiencies you have and still try to improve. So, no. I said all of that to say this. No, I wouldn't trade for Josh Allen. All right. JP says, I heard the Lions are shopping Golden Tate. He's the only good receiver they have. Wait a minute. You haven't watched Detroit Lions football. They got Marvin Jones Jr. Yeah, I wouldn't say that that's the end. You also haven't been watching because Kenny Golladay is actually damn good as well. Anyway, Atlas says, how did Dallas manage to fire the wrong coach? Was it some kind of mistake? But I have no idea who you're talking about. Sorry. Let's see. J.K. Man says, I was so pissed that they skipped Are You Ready for Some Football song, the traditional song that has been played before this. I turned it on literally as they were kicking off the football, so I didn't know that they skipped that this game. Cloud says, Adams looked pretty good, still hasn't proved that he's a dude at running back position, though. Y'all better hope we don't get a running back in Philly. I hope you don't get a running back in Philly. And I know Josh Adams is a quality back. He's not a difference maker, but if you block it up, the guy can run. I watched him rush for damn near 2,000 yards at Notre Dame last year, so I know the guy can run. But in any event, Terrence Leach says, how can my Ravens get back in the win column? For one, for starters, stop turning over the goddamn football. 3 turnovers on the road will do you in every time against quality opponents. Won't beat anybody in this league of any merit on the road with 3 turnovers. So that's where you start. Stop turning the football over. Number 2, it'd be nice to score some points, get out to a lead, and hold on to that lead. You had a lead 17-7 versus the Saints. You blew that lead. Bottom line is, you just got to play better, And I'll give you a little something, a little tidbit. You need to run the ball more effectively. Even the game against Tennessee, you didn't run it well, but they were so bad on offense, you were able to blank those guys. But you haven't run the football effectively of late. And when you don't run it effectively, it alters what you do as a football team, because you're best when you're running it and Joe Flacco can go play action fake. It opens up the field. Then the tight ends are open over the middle of the field. Then John Brown can get loose deep. It just changes the dynamics of your offense. When you don't run it effectively, it takes away play action. They're not biting up on run as aggressively, and all of a sudden those windows that normally are open because of a successful run game aren't there anymore. So you need to get back to running the football. If you can run the football, you'll control pace of game. Your defense won't be on the field as much, and I think you'll benefit because of it. Cloud says, I wish Bell's ass would come in so we could possibly get him. Reports say we were going to pursue him in free agency. Dude could have got traded and paid, but he's playing. Look, he's not going to show up because the Steelers aren't going to trade him. It's as simple as that. Steelers are playing hardball. They're not going to trade him, and because of that, he's like, well, I'm not showing up. So we'll see what happens. I think he's going to show up week 11, because if he doesn't show up by week 11, then he doesn't get a year of accrued a free agency. So essentially, if he doesn't show up by week 11, this season won't count towards his NFL status. And being that he wouldn't get credit for this year, the Steelers could just franchise tag him all over again and have to pay him the same amount of money. So he's going to show up by week 11. J. Camman says, why can't the Bills get D-Jax and not the Patriots? I would rather get a proven vet than another Zay Jones. Why? Because why would you give up a draft pick for a player that you wouldn't be able to utilize correctly because you don't have a quarterback? Like, again, that's why I don't want the Redskins to draft or trade for anybody, because if you're not going to utilize that guy correctly right now, what's the purpose? So, Reese says, Le'Veon Bell must be really pissed off in order to swallow his pride and almost pass it. Well, the guy's not broke. You know what I mean? If you're passing up money for a principal, he's not broke. And he's going to make a ton more money. So, he's fine. He's fine. J. Camman says, for the permanent record, not my idea to get rid of Tyrod. Getting rid of any starters means we have to replace that starter. We already have enough to do. We can draft a fourth round running back. I understand what you're saying. I know it was split. I knew a lot of Bills fans that wanted to move on from Tyrod Taylor. I knew other Bills fans that weren't a fan of getting rid of Tyrod Taylor. I never was on board with that decision. I wasn't on board with him being benched in favor of Nathan Peterman. So there's that. The 20th Mike says, the Bills starting to get themselves together, giving Patriots a tough time most of the game. FBG Tony says, also, I would try to acquire a guy like Olivier Vernon from New York if possible. I'm tired of Preston Smith inconsistencies, bro. I swear. Olivier Vernon's been banged up this year. I don't know how he fits in a 3-4 defense. Redskins play a lot of nickel anyway, so they're usually in 4-down fronts. But when they're in their base, I don't know how Olivier Vernon would play in a 2-point stance standing up versus hand in the dirt. Either way, he's a difference maker. But I don't have a problem with Preston Smith. You know, I would love it if Preston made some more plays, but I see what Preston Smith is. And if he's not asking for too much money, I wouldn't mind having him back. If him and his agent think he's worth a ton of money in the offseason, then that's when you got to chuck the deuce to him. Say, hey, appreciate the service. I wish you nothing but the best. Go get your bread, bro. You can't eat here, but go get your bread. So if Preston's asking for a reasonable amount, which guys generally aren't when they have their first opportunity to really eat, they're not looking to be modest. They want to fill up their plate, and I'm not mad at him for that. And if you can't fill up your plate with enough bread in Washington and you got to go elsewhere to eat, by all means, bro, do what you got to do. But I like Preston Smith. I don't think he's hit his full potential yet. I think there's still more that he can do. But I know who he is. I don't think he'll ever be elite in this league, but I think he'll be a serviceable football player. I'm not mad at Preston Smith. He does some good things. Reese says, I feel as if we're close to being really good, Lou, but so far away at the same time. That's such a hopeless feeling. Such a hopeless feeling. It really is. John Perez says, do you think the Broncos would try to shop Shane Ray? I think the Broncos are shopping anybody that they can fetch a pick for of note, other than Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, and a few select others. I think they're shopping just about anybody, and if they can get enough compensation for them, they're willing to move on from a lot of their players. I think the Broncos may be one of the most aggressive teams tomorrow in moving players for assets, because I think John Elway's trying to turn that thing around rather quickly in Denver. And if he has to trade up, a bunch of assets to package up a pick to go up and get a quarterback that will solve his quarterback woes, I think he wants to be in a position to do that. So wouldn't shock me in the least to see the Broncos move 2 or 3 players tomorrow for sure. Angry Birds of Chaos says, Deshaun Jackson to Houston. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, but you already got a ton of speed. It's not healthy all the time, and Will Fuller being out for the season, and that sucks. We talked about that on Thursday, and we hoped that it wasn't a season-ending injury, and it was. You could use some speed, man. Kiki QT is another guy that can run, but he's injured too. That'd make a lot of sense in Houston. It really, really would. But anyway, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. That's going to do it for me tonight. Remember, check out Lockdown coverage. That'll be out probably within the next hour and a half. Also, check out the Louie T Network podcast. Had a great episode. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at In the Lab Room if you haven't already done so. And also, you follow my podcast page on Twitter at LTN Pod on Twitter as well. So Make sure you like this video. Subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. Make sure you listen to the podcast, support the movement, and continue to support the Louie T Network. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. And also remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage that it could be. I will see you guys next time. Have a good one. And again, thanks for joining me tonight on Monday Night Football Overtime. Pats 25, Bills 6, Patriots improved to 6-2. Bills the inverse at 2-6. See you next time.
Louie T Network.